So I have an interesting dilemma. I found a hole in my content that I kind of need to figure out. So I've been working on a lot of videos for my second channel, and I've been playing around with what I want to do with that second channel. For a while I was just gonna get rid of it, but now I'm kind of thinking I'm just gonna do these kind of silent adventure style videos. So like silent hiking, overlanding, and by silent I mean audio, some music that's kind of ambient style, and visuals. Pretty visuals. Like, I enjoy going out and shooting pretty visuals, especially when I'm out with my Jeep. So one dilemma I'm coming up with as I'm going through and editing more of this content in this style is that I don't have the best ambience, so the sound of what's going on around. Because a lot of times when I'm out shooting, I'm vlogging, which is like this, but then I don't put a lot of time and effort into getting good sounds from the locations. And it's something that I want to work on and get some better audio when I'm out filming. And so I'm on a mission to try to figure out how to get better audio. And I have 4 different microphones that I want to test out in this video to get better ambience when I'm out filming. I have the Sony M1. This is like my go-to microphone, and I'm going to use it in stereo mode because you have all these different recording options on this microphone, but I want to test out this stereo option. The second is a Zoom F1. This is a standalone recorder, and I have 2 different types of microphones that go on top of it. So the first is this one that has a 120-degree angle, and it's a stereo microphone. And the second is this ball that goes on top, and it's also a stereo microphone. And I want to test how these sound when I'm outputting to my camera, because the whole goal of this is to get better audio that's tied to my video, and I don't want to necessarily be recording the audio separately. And then the last microphone I'm going to play with is the Sennheiser wireless system. And I want to try this because you could put it on top of your camera as a stereo microphone to be able to get these ambient style recordings. Also does backup recording on each of the wireless mics themselves, but I can pop out the wireless mics and then use them as a standalone wireless microphone, which comes in handy in other ways. So I want to hear what it sounds like, if it's even worth using this Sennheiser as an option instead of my M1 or instead of the Zoom. So that's what we're testing in this video. So let's go find a few different scenes to record, and we'll get some visuals and audio. And I think the first will stay down here in this canyon because it's windy up top there. And we'll do a recording here. There's some kids in the distance, there's some traffic, birds, a little bit of a breeze. So let's see how this sounds. Let's get some shots of hiking, and then we're gonna completely change it up and go somewhere else. So you might be wondering, why am I testing these 4 different microphones? Well, 3 with the 1 attachment difference. Well, the reason is these are the ones that I have, and the Sony M1 is the main microphone that I've been using, and I'd love to compare it against some different options to see if there is a reason to use something different, because otherwise
the Sony M1 would be a great option to just always have on my camera and just be able to manipulate it to be able to get good audio with this tiny little microphone. But the Zoom F1 is a recorder that I bought a while back for a project. I was trying to get the sound of a singing sand dune. And I thought having that recorder would have helped. So that's why I have that one and all the different attachments. And then the Sennheiser was sent to me and I've just been kind of testing it off and on, but it does have this unique feature that gives you a stereo microphone and it go on top of your camera. So that's why I'm testing this, and also just testing how to get better ambience in this way with this more intentional approach. So that's why we're testing this. And depending on how today goes, I might either look at some other options or just stick with one of these. We'll see, yeah, we'll see. But next, let's go really in the other direction, go down to the ocean, and let's get some sounds of the waves, the ocean, and all the wind down there, and see what that sounds like, to really have a complete contrast in terms of sound. Let's go to the beach. All right, we're back in the hills, and I want to find a spot that has just nature sounds. Unfortunately, on these hilltops here, I hear the sounds of like leaf blowers and workers and construction and a bunch of other stuff going on down there. So if I was to bump up the background ambience, you're gonna hear that. So I want to hike up and over this hill, see if there's a spot that I can find where it's just very quiet, just to find the sounds of nature, and that's it. And probably test a little bit more hiking in that space. So first I gotta find a way to get over this hill. There used to be a hole in the fence here, and there's a path that goes that way. Kind of goes up and over the hill. That would have been a nice spot to get a clean recording, but we'll keep going down the trail and see if we can find something this way. Looks like somebody has fixed the fence. This area sounds fairly clean. I've switched over to the stereo microphone. Just curious what it sounds like shooting with that, with this M1 mic when I'm vlogging versus using the directional. On the back there's 8 different polar patterns, and so it's always good to keep testing gear. All right, so let's pull out all 4 mics and run through these and see if we could get a clean recording up here and what it sounds like between them.
All right, let's have a conversation about what we're finding between all these microphones, because I'm definitely noticing a big difference, and it's helping me make a decision how I want to move forward with this whole gathering ambience when I'm out making my films. I need to talk about the 4 mics a little bit. So with the Sony M1, you have these different polar patterns, but I was using just basically the stereo one because I wanted to have this independent recording where you're getting the left and right channel a little bit different from each other so you can hear some more depth. What I found is with the Sony microphone, the sound actually felt like there was some processing going on. Now with the Zoom, I had these 2 different types of microphones. One's an XY pattern and the other one is called a mid-side pattern. That's this ball. I'm not going to get into all the details of the differences between them, but they just sound a little bit different the way that they work. So with the XY pattern, I noticed that it sounded pretty good in some situations, and then some of it I didn't like when I compared it to the mid-side. And then when it came to the Sennheiser, it also had a stereo sound, and it sounded pretty decent. But I noticed with the Sennheiser, it had a really high noise floor. So with microphones, depending on if it's the microphone or the recorder, you're gonna have your noise floor, which is when you start hearing that. Now I don't know if the Sony's doing some processing to remove that because you don't hear a lot of noise in the Sony mic. However, it doesn't sound as robust. There doesn't seem to be as much depth. Makes me think that there's a little bit of processing going on. With the Zoom on both microphones, you're getting a lot more depth, and even with the Sennheiser. However, with that Sennheiser, it's a really high noise floor, so there's a lot of noise in the audio. So overall, just by doing this test, I definitely found that the Zoom, as an independent recorder, even pushing into the camera, sounds way better than the other 2 microphones. And so that drove me to kind of look at this whole mid-side style of microphone, and I bought this. It's the Zoom H2 Essential. This is a mid-side recorder, so it's got a microphone on the front, on the back, and it's got this bidirectional on the side. This is also like tiny, lightweight, and I can output this to the camera. So I actually went back up to the same spot that we were just at, and I brought this recorder instead because I wanted to hear the difference. Now, there's not the helicopter going off in the distance, but you'll get a sense of what this one sounds like.
All right, I'm at the exact spot that I filmed last time, which was tripod was right over there. But I have this little fence here, so we're gonna use this. We're gonna do a similar recording. So I'm gonna let it roll. It's a little bit different today. There's no helicopters in the distance, but I do have some construction that way because they're building a bunch of stuff over there. So similar, a little bit of wind, nature, leaf blowers, construction. So we'll see what we can get here. But I'm gonna turn this on all the microphones so we could get more of a omnidirectional kind of recording because it does have 3 microphones in this. And yeah, let's see what we get.
So overall, I'm pretty happy with how this one sounds, this new recorder. It's actually fairly inexpensive. This was only like $170. But the benefit is smaller, lightweight, it's got less going on. I don't have this microphone on top that gives me a fail point. But also, this is a 32-bit float recorder. So I could record internally on the Zoom H2 Essential with this 32-bit float file, which allows me to do more processing. You can think of a 32-bit float file as like a raw file for your photos. You can just manipulate the audio much better. I want to do a sample real quick. I want to test H2 Essential against my Sony M1 microphone so we could hear the difference between these two outputting to the camera, because this is kind of how I want to be able to use this setup. I'm trying to create a simple setup that I can put on my camera to be able to gather ambience and create these soundscapes that's going to give me really good audio, but also not having to like sync it up and post with the image all the time. So definitely the H2 sounds way better than the M1. However, I think how I'm going to use these microphones moving forward is, well, not use this one. I think it's pretty good, but I'd rather have the 32-bit float recorder. So I'm going to use the Zoom H2, and it sounds fine just outputting to the camera as long as my levels are set properly. And so I'll output to the camera when I want to have sync sound. But then also, I have a little portable recorder, so if I do need to gather different ambiances from the location, I'm not necessarily filming video, well then I could just use this as a standalone recorder. And it's going to give me a lot of flexibility to be able to create some different soundscapes. And yeah, I think this is a great solution for what I'm trying to do. But also, since I started making this video like a week ago, I've been doing a lot of research into field recording and just learning a lot about creating audio soundscapes in this style. And I actually purchased another microphone, which is very different than this. I can actually plug it into this if I want to. There's a line in, but it might create some really interesting effects for building out these soundscapes. So I'll definitely do another video soon about that specific microphone. I think going through this test gave me just a lot of clarity in what I need to do moving forward and the different things I should start digging into a little bit more and really dive into learning some more about field recording for this specific style of audio. Now, like anything, you could deep dive and you could get really crazy. I've seen some pretty wild setups to get ambience, but the key is finding a solution that works for the type of videos I'm creating. And I think for now, I'm gonna start using this one and then I'll change it up as I move forward and make more content. And next, you should check out, well, this video right here. It goes through how I set up my entire studio, this whole space, with the help of AI. So if you wanna see how I set up my studio, check it out. See you on the next one.